What? I'm next. I'm tired. I have no interest in gatherings like this. But Hino-san saw me talking to that kid, so here I am. Honestly, I don't feel so good. Like, I want to go home right now. Please don't. Oh my, don't look at me like that. I'm here, so I'll tell you my story. But I really don't feel so good right now. Keep that in mind. If this feeling keeps up, I might just kill you. I'm Iwashita Akemi, 3rd grade. As I just said, I'll be telling you a story about a child. A child of about 6. Even though it's a school story, it might be a little strange that this child appears in it. You've never heard it before. The story of the child who died at this school. It was all anyone talked about when I was in the 1st grade. There were some kids who snuck into the school one Sunday to play hide and seek. As they were playing, one boy found a really good hiding spot. His name was Nao-kun. Nobody had any idea where he was. They thought he'd gone home without them, so they all left the school too. They left him behind, alone. Even as night fell, nobody came to find him. He finally decided to go home himself, but he couldn't. He didn't just find the best hiding spot. He found a place he couldn't get out of alone. "Help me! Someone! Help me!" He screamed and screamed, but nobody came to help. Nao-kun didn't come home that day, and when his worried parents heard he'd been playing hide and seek, they rushed over to search the school. But they didn't find him. Maybe someone kidnapped him. That's what his parents thought. Then they apparently went to the police. They were horribly off the mark. All Nao-kun could do was spend the rest of the night in the school. The next day, and the day after that, he still couldn't escape from his hiding spot. The students, the teachers, the staff, not a single person could find him. You know where this is going, right? Before long, he starved to death. What do you think, Kurata-san? If you were him, do you think you'd move on to the other side? I would. Either you don't understand what that means or you're incredibly naive. Either way, I don't really want to get involved with someone so foolish. As for me, I wouldn't be able to move on, not by a long shot. To tell you the truth, they still haven't found Nao-kun's dead body. Where he is still a mystery. And the reason for that is... Yeah, let's imagine for a moment that you found his body. Then you suddenly hear a little boy's voice coming from somewhere. This time, I'm it. Then it's your turn to hide. Once you hear that, it's all over. You'll be locked in and never able to leave again. Of course, that means you'll die as well. Interesting, right? If it's true, then all the dead bodies would pile up into a mountain there, my classmate said. Where do you think he might be? This is a big school full of suspicious locations. He could be anywhere. He could be in the storage room or one of the empty classrooms. Or maybe in the old school building. Actually, there was a time where searching for his corpse was really popular. It was around the time I started school here. There was a guy in my class by the name of Aoki Nao. He was bright and kind and quickly became popular with everyone. Everyone called him Nao-kun. He sat next to me in class and His friends always crowded around him there. Every now and then he spoke to me too. He urged me to talk with the others and to go out with them after school sometime. To be honest, he annoyed me. I prefer being by myself. One day, some of the girls in our class started talking about a rumor they'd heard of a dead child in our school. That was when it became the hot topic of the class. People wanted to know whether this boy really died while playing hide and seek. Where was he hiding? Was there really someone who had found him and then died themselves? If so, how many had found him? Then the one thing everyone focused on most was trying to find the boy's body and then returning safely. From my classmate Nao-kun's point of view, it was confusing. Everyone was talking about a kid with the same name as him. But he was popular, so it wasn't like he was bullied over it or anything. Several classmates snuck into the school on a Sunday, saying they were going to try and find the dead boy. The boy got lost in the school on a Sunday, so there was some stupid rumor that you should look for him on a Sunday as well. Then they'd all get together on Monday and talk about where they looked, any clues they found, if they saw a child's ghost, and so on. It was so stupid. In the end, everyone was just making things up and distorting the truth. Me? Of course I didn't take part. Well, Kurata-san, are you the type who'd join in? I would. I thought so. Just a feeling I had. You're the type to meddle in everyone's business and not give a damn about their privacy, right? How bothersome. Well, as long as you have fun with it. But you should be careful, because Nao-kun met a terrible fate while he was taking part. He wasn't the type to get drawn in by rumors, but the child they were speaking of shared his name, so he couldn't get it out of his mind. His classmates said it was just a coincidence. But every Sunday, he searched the school for the boy's dead body. And he was the first to find it. It was in a classroom in the old school building. There was a hole in the rotting wooden floor. The boy's corpse was in one of those holes. Well, you found me. He suddenly heard a voice coming from behind him. It was a child with the same face as the dead body. Was it a ghost? Did that mean the rumors were true? Nao-kun panicked, but no words came out. He couldn't move, like his body was frozen. This time, I'm it, and it's your turn to hide, the child said, and then seemed to melt into thin air. At that very moment, the door slammed shut. It was so loud it sounded like it might break. Nao-kun quickly ran over to the door, but he couldn't get it open, no matter how hard he tried. Someone! Anyone! He pounded on the door, but nobody came for him. He called out for help over and over, just like the dead boy. His throat hurt and his voice went hoarse. He feared he might vomit blood. But nobody came to help him. He didn't return home that night. He feared he might never be able to leave there again. Then the boy's spirit appeared once more. You're so noisy that I found you. You can't do that. You have to hide quietly. Then the door opened. Nao-kun made a run for it. He never wanted to go back near the old school building again. The boy muttered after him, "Next time, you're it." Well, Kurata-san, do you think Nao-kun went looking for the boy again? He did. Uhuhu. Does that mean you'd do the same thing too? How terrible. That means you'd have to play hide and seek with the boy's spirit forever. You might be okay with that, but Nao-kun thought differently. He tried his best to forget all about it. Several days passed. Our classmates continued their search. With so many people looking, why did none of them find the classroom? Although it is true that the holes in the floor were dark and hard to see. Nao-kun found it creepy. But he didn't feel like telling anyone about what happened to him. It was just a bad dream. That was probably what he wanted to think. Then one day, that boy appeared before him again. During class. He tapped his shoulder from behind, and when he turned around, the boy was sitting on him. The boy glared hatefully at him. "Why didn't you come find me? I've been waiting all this time. You're it. You have to find me." Nao-kun couldn't move. "Hey, eyes on the board." The teacher warned him. Seemed he couldn't see the boy's ghost. And it wasn't just the teacher. Nobody could see him. "Help me!" Nao-kun squeaked. Everyone laughed. He thought they were laughing because the teacher got angry. Why were they laughing? Did they not care what happened to him? Unable to bear it any longer, he ran out of the classroom. "Come and find me." The boy was still on his shoulders. He couldn't shake him off, no matter how fast he ran. Next thing he knew, Nao-kun was near the old school building. This was no joke. He never wanted to go in there again. But the ghost of the boy pulled his hair and led him towards the inside. He was incredibly strong. It was beginning to dawn on him what the boy intended to do. Nao-kun was locked in the same classroom again. Would this go on forever? When he'd lost all hope, the boy spoke out. "I'm tired of this game." Nao-kun was elated. He smiled before he could stop himself, and the boy's hands reached out for him. It was so sudden that Nao-kun had no time to think. As the boy pushed him, he staggered and fell into a hole in the floor. Once again, Nao-kun was unable to leave the classroom in the old school building, although this time was a far worse tragedy. There was an even smaller chance of finding him now that he was in the hole in the floor. He saw out the night in that hole. He wondered what he would do if he died there. An indescribable fear washed over him. The next morning, he screamed as loud as he could, hoping that someone would hear him. Over and over he screamed. He took a break when his voice grew hoarse, and then started screaming again. Kurata-san, can you imagine it? How terrifying that voice must have sounded from the outside. Finally, one of the students who heard it alerted a teacher. They saved him, and, in a daze, he told them everything that had happened. He apparently screamed that he was going to move somewhere far away. And do you know what happened to him next? He was admitted to the hospital. They said he fell into the hole and hit his head while wandering around. Nao-kun refused to believe them at first, but then he thought it wouldn't be so bad. as long as he could stay away from the school. He wanted to go somewhere where that child could no longer look at him. He stayed quietly at the hospital for a while, but then, 2 or 3 days later, he suddenly woke up during the night and saw someone crouched in the corner of his room. It was a small child. "Are you sick?" the boy asked sadly. "I am," he said. "I don't feel so good," Nao-kun said. Then the boy replied, "I used to hurt and get hungry too, but now I'm fine. Hey, you should just become like me." The boy touched him with cold hands. "Then we can play hide and seek together forever." Apparently, they found Nao-kun dead in his room the following day. There was a big fuss over it, but apparently he died from mental shock. As it turned out, Nao-kun had a big brother who went missing when he was just a child. He went out to play and never came back. The corpse in the old school building was that older brother. Having lost their only child, his parents gave their newly born son the same name. That was why he had the same name as the ghost of the child. The boy knew this, which was why he followed Nao-kun around. His grown-up little brother. I wonder what his big brother thought, running into him like that. Did he think about how his parents and friends would be upset if he killed his little brother? Maybe he never thought that far. Having run into his younger brother like that, he probably thought nothing more than wanting to be together with him. A few days after that, I ran into the boy's spirit in the old school building. That was when I heard the rest of the story. Hino-san just happened to be passing by at the same time. "Let me turn that into a story one day," he said. Hino-san was only new to the newspaper club then, so he couldn't suggest pieces to write yet. I didn't think much would come of it, so I half-heartedly answered him. I had no idea he'd go this far. You never really know people, huh? Well, that's the end of my story. Next up is the 5th story, right? Who's going to tell us a story next?